The shift in men, I feel as though, especially like 20 years ago, men do not feel responsible for caring for a woman. It's almost like the women are responsible for the men. It's going against the natural order of things because women now are higher earning.
Us high achieving women have become the men that we want in relationships. We did everything right.
You must be out of your goddamn mind.
You ever notice how the people who scream the loudest about being perfect are usually the ones refusing to self-reflect? Yeah, this next clip is the textbook example. Before we dive in, drop a comment. Are modern men more delusional, or is it the ladies? Hit like and subscribe so you don't miss what we expose next. So here's the setup. We've got a so-called high-achieving woman who genuinely believes she and women in general don't need to change. According to her, men are the problem. The dating world is upside down, not because of female entitlement, not because of shifting standards, not because of Instagram culture, but because men simply won't bend, break, and reshape themselves to fit her idea of what's acceptable. Think about that for a second. The message is basically, I'm already perfect. You're flawed. You need to adjust. That's not partnership. That's dictatorship, dressed up as empowerment. And it's wild because modern women are being sold this idea that accountability is optional, while men are expected to constantly adapt, upgrade, and compromise. Default text, this is exactly how we've arrived at a culture where dating feels less like building a team and more like trying to survive an endless job interview. All right, let's roll the clip so you can see this mindset in action.
Women have become the men that we want in relationships. We did everything right. We did the school, finished the school, got the good job, got the good house, got the good car and life and dog and friends and everything. And I never thought that achieving these things for myself would literally make it impossible to date.
So this woman starts rattling off her laundry list. The degrees, the house, the high-paying job, the car, even the dog. And then she says something that honestly reveals the whole problem. She became the man she wanted to marry. Now pause right there. That line sounds empowering on the surface, but it's actually tragic when you think about it because all those achievements, the house, the career, the car, they improve her personal lifestyle. Sure, but do they make her a better wife? A better partner? Not necessarily. See, here's the hard truth. Most modern women don't want to hear. Men aren't attracted to rezos. Men aren't lying awake at night saying, bro, I need a woman with 2 degrees and a golden retriever. What men are wired to value is femininity, softness, nurturing, cooperation, the ability to build a life together. But what's being pushed today is this checklist of independence that literally screams, I don't need anybody. And then the same women wonder why men aren't lining up to commit. Independence by definition means you don't need anyone else. And if you don't need anyone, why would a man want to invest his time, money, and energy into that? Let's be real. A car note and a dog can keep you company, but they don't keep a man in your bed. And yet, modern women are doubling down on this delusion that personal achievements equal relationship value. It's me, what they want, what they need, what they achieve. Partnership gets thrown out the window. And that right there is why the dating market feels so broken. Women are being sold the dream of independence, and men are quietly walking away because nothing on that resume satisfies what men are actually looking for.
That if women were able to accomplish these things for themselves and push themselves and be driven, there's nothing stopping men from being in that same position. And lo and behold, here we are.
And right there, that's the mindset that's breaking everything. Modern women think, well, if I'm achieving, if I'm leveling up, then men need to be right there with me, or even higher. If she gets the promotion, if she buys the house, if she earns 6 figures, suddenly her man has to match or surpass all of it just to qualify. But here's the flaw. That's not how relationships are supposed to work. Partnership isn't a scoreboard. It's not about one-upping each other, stacking achievements, or comparing trophies. Yet modern women are literally building their entire relationship model around competition instead of cooperation. Think about it. Every achievement she lists, every milestone she hits, She assumes it automatically raises the bar for what men owe her. But here's the kicker. None of those things directly benefit the man. Her diploma doesn't cook dinner. Her six-figure salary doesn't bring him peace. Her "I did it all by myself" attitude doesn't make her more feminine, cooperative, or nurturing. At the end of the day, what she's offering in a relationship is based entirely on her own personal success, not on what actually sustains a partnership. And if we're being real, that's not love. That's not connection. That's selfishness wrapped up in achievement culture. And this is the silent delusion, thinking you can out-achieve your way into love, when what men are really craving is a woman who brings balance, peace, and support, not a rival competitor who wants to measure resumes.
Like, where, what, why? Women are looking for a partnership now, right? Like, we're not dating because we need to. But the problem is, men are not sharing in that vision.
And here's where the whole logic completely unravels. Men aren't supposed to share in your vision. A healthy relationship is about a woman aligning herself with a man's purpose, not trying to drag him into hers, but modern women flip it. They chase achievements, stack up degrees, rack up debt, and then wonder why men aren't jumping on board to fund their personal dreams. And here's the irony. When women do end up in that breadwinner role, most don't actually like it. It doesn't make them feel secure. It doesn't make them feel feminine. In fact, it usually breeds resentment. So what happens? They decide the man has to achieve as much or more just so she can fall back and not have to carry the weight she chose to put on her own shoulders. Think about how backwards that is. She go to school for 6 years, take on student loans, climb the corporate ladder, and then turn around and say, okay, now I need a man who earns even more than me, so I don't have to keep doing all this. Basically, she's asking a man to pay to free her from the very grind she signed herself up for. Where's the sacrifice in that? Men are expected to grind, provide, and build for their families, often giving up their time, their health, and their peace for the sake of others. Women today, many of them aren't willing to make the same trade-off. They want the status, the independence, the accolades, until it gets uncomfortable. Then they want a man to swoop in, rescue them from their own choices, and still take on the role of traditional provider. That model doesn't work. It's self-serving, it's contradictory, and it leaves men asking the obvious question. If I'm sacrificing for you and the family, what are you sacrificing for me?
Subscribing to a hierarchical model. They still need to be needed.
I don't need a man for that.
In some capacity. So there's two outcomes. Either I prove that I'm high achieving and don't require support, which makes me unlikable.
Nobody wants you here. Nobody.
But then if I did actually need someone for a financial incentive or whatever else, this provider role, then I'm a gold digger.
If the shoe fits.
Ma'am, you're not cooking.
Ma'am, you're not making a point here. You're just exposing the contradiction. She tries to shame men by saying they're stuck in a hierarchical model because they want to be needed. But let's be honest. Who doesn't want to be needed? Women crave it just as much. They want to feel desired, appreciated, protected. So why is it suddenly a flaw when men want that same sense of purpose in a relationship? See, this is where modern thinking gets twisted. Men aren't asking for much. They're saying, if I'm going to sacrifice, if I'm going to provide, at least let me feel that what I bring actually matters. That's not control. That's purpose. That's the foundation of why men work so hard in the first place. And then here's the kicker. In the very same breath, she admits that if she does rely on a man, she'll be labeled a gold digger. But who created that stigma? Not men that came from other women, because too many are out here demanding provision while bringing nothing else to the table. When your entire model of relationships is what can he do for me, and you never stop to ask, what does he need from me? That's not partnership. That's extraction. That's literally the gold digger mentality she's trying to distance herself from. But the reality is, if you offer no exchange in value, no peace, no cooperation, no support, then you're not building, you're just taking. And when called out, women like this can't even reconcile their own contradictions. They want independence until the bills stack up. Then they want provision without accountability. And they spin it back on men when the logic collapses. At the end of the day, men want to be needed. Women want to be needed. That's the essence of connection. But when one side refuses to give and only wants to take, that's not love. That's delusion.
The story, it's difficult to be in a position where there's no more improvement needed on our side. I don't think women should have to demote themselves in order to be palatable to men who need to be needed. I think the solution is men should be more driven to want to be wanted. But then when they try to do things that women want, other men are shaming them back into this toxic cycle of hierarchy. So I guess this is my plea for men to stop falling victim to a system that doesn't serve you or anyone anymore, or don't.
This system. And this is the line that exposes everything. She says, don't fall for a system that doesn't serve us. But let's be real for a second, gents. Doesn't that already sound familiar? Because to a lot of men today, this so-called system is the one where women think they're equal or even better than us. Yet somehow men are the ones losing everything in the end. Look around. In this system, kids aren't getting to parents in the home. In this system, men are walking away from marriages with empty pockets and broken spirits, while women walk off with the house, the car, the kids, and half of everything he worked for. In this system, women can rack up massive student loans, chasing degrees, brag about the job titles, but then expect men to come in and pay off the mess like it's part of the deal. And let's keep it real. How many of you have dated a woman who constantly bragged about her degree, her career, her status? I have. And it never lasted, not because having something is bad, but because when she starts acting like her achievements make her better than you, it kills the partnership before it even begins. That's the heart of the problem. When it comes time to actually build a life together, too many of these women don't have the tools. They don't have peace within themselves. They don't know how to lean into femininity. They don't know how to work with somebody, only how to compete with somebody. Yet somehow, they still use the word partnership. But tell me this, how do you build a partnership with someone who doesn't even know how to partner? How do you build peace with someone who can't even sit in their own pee? It doesn't add up. The math ain't mathing. And the system they claim doesn't serve them. Is the same one that's tearing men down piece by piece.
Have shifted to that, asking women what they bring to the table. What caused that?
I'll be honest with you, a lot of women don't want to take accountability for what they've created. Because it's just the ratio of having more women to men. But the women, you can have one woman that's going to stand on business and not tolerate it, but you'll have 10 more that will.
That's true.
So the desperation of women, especially women making a lot of money, women who are high earning women.
This right here is what arrogance looks like. She's built herself up, did all the work for herself, and now expects the world, especially men, to rearrange for her. You work for me. She basically says, I don't work for you. That attitude, it's exhausting. You don't partner with someone whose first move is to claim victory and demand others bend to it. What she's really doing is weaponizing achievement to avoid accountability. Instead of saying, I want to build a life together, it's, I want you to prove yourself useful to me. That flips partnership on its head. Partnership is mutual. It's sweat and sacrifice on both sides. It's sometimes boring, sometimes messy, always reciprocal. What she's selling is a one-sided bargain. You give, I take. And don't miss the psychology behind it. Chasing a Disney princess fantasy. So many young women are socialized to believe in instant validation. The perfect love, the perfect status, the perfect status, the perfect payoff. They're taught to expect a jackpot rather than to practice compromise. That's why so many end up chasing an idea of love that exists only in their heads. Real relationships require humility. Real relationships require admitting when you're wrong. These women too proud for that. Here's the gut punch. If all you bring to the table is achievement and ego, what are you offering when the romance fades and life gets heavy? Men aren't asking you to shrink your success. They're asking for partnership, for someone who show up in the trenches with them. If you refuse to do that, you're not a teammate. You're a competitor. So my message to the men watching, keep your purpose. Keep improving. Be the man who builds. But don't be surprised if you find fewer real partners out there, because what's being marketed as empowerment has for some become permission to opt out of reciprocity. And to the women listening, achievement is powerful, but it's not a replacement for empathy, for sacrifice, or for the daily labor of building a life with someone else. Let's move on. There's more in this clip that shows exactly where this mindset collapses in practice.